Okay, it's been a while since our very last Stark at Home, and I'm going to try a few new things here. So first of all, notice I'll be, well, maybe you don't notice this, but I'm standing up. I'm also going to run this a bit shorter because I think, we're all constrained with time. So very glad to be here. I want to share with you some slides. Today's topic for our Stark at Home is going to be the vision and values of StarkWare. Now, a few things, if this is your first time here, if you have questions, please use the ask a question thing like I'm doing now. Here's a question, and now we'll all see it. I will not be able to follow the chat that well, so that's why questions are much better. Okay, and I want to share some slides with you. And let me go ahead and share them. And then we'll start. Okay, can you see my slides? I guess you can see the slides, right? Very well. So what I'm going to do is I am going to tell you a little bit about our vision today. And who am I imagining? So who am I talking to, right? It's a bit, it's always a bit strange to be standing here and talking into a blank screen and imagining all of you. So I'm going to have someone in particular in mind, and that person is someone who is probably right now working at some technology firm, or maybe it's a fintech firm, and is very curious and a believer in blockchain, but like the rest of us, is probably asking, what's going on there with blockchain? There's this big promise started 11 years ago. Where's all this heading? Right? We haven't quite seen real product market fit yet. Meaning, this person's right. Your friends, your family is not using blockchain yet. Who is using blockchain today? Well, some of us are using, let's say, Bitcoin as a store of value, as digital gold. The rest of us are probably using it for fun, speculative, rowdy stuff, which is fine. It has, fun is always good, but this is not the vision of blockchain. And then, you sitting in your tech company, loving the vision of blockchain, the vision of Satoshi Nakamoto, the vision of Vitalik, and others, you're asking yourself, okay, but what does this have to do at all with all this shitcoinery, with all this speculation, with all the rug pulls, and the plat du jour, which once it's NFTs, then it's meme coins. How is this connected to the grand vision that is blockchain? And then this leads to the question, wait a second, what is the vision? What are the values of blockchain? And based on this, my hope is that you will be able to make a better decision as to your career path if you choose to follow blockchain or jump into it. Now, I'm saying this as someone who actually followed a similar path. So I was a professor of theoretical computer science. I was doing research. I had tenure position. I was a full professor. I was very happy with the math I was doing. And nevertheless, I decided to co-found StarkWare. This was 7 years ago. I'm very happy with what I'm doing. We have today a team of over 200 people working just within StarkWare, but of course, we're part of a much greater ecosystem that is that of blockchain. And even within Starknet, we have probably a few hundred or a few thousand developers who are devoting part or all of their time to it. And then the question begs, why are we doing this? What is our North Star? So that's what I want to share with you today. Okay, so by the way, this is a bit tricky. I need to jump between screens. There must be a better way to do this, but I'm going to jump between screens. Okay. So because I need to sort of pass forward my slides. Okay, so blockchain today doesn't yet have real product market fit. That's PMF, right? That's the first bullet. And you, as someone who's following it, you have to choose which blockchain is it that you want to dedicate your life to. And the problem is that unfortunately, your scarce resource, your most scarce resource is your time and your efforts. And with that, you're going to have to choose. And I want to survey the kind of choices that you may be looking at today. But the one thing you want to bear in mind is you want to avoid following a path that ends in a dead end. So what do I mean? A very good example and a very good story to have in our mind is the story of CryptoKitties. So some of you are probably have been around enough to know what happened with the CryptoKitties craze. So this was about, I think, 6 years ago. It was probably the very first time that Ethereum experienced a huge surge in demand. What happened? There was a fun application called CryptoKitties, which was something between an NFT and a fun game, where there was these scarce CryptoKitties. They were kind of kittens. And what you could do is each one of them had a unique DNA, which was a piece of code or so. And you could take two CryptoKitties and breed them together and get some new CryptoKitty. And they had different features because there was some random, just like with evolution and, with nature, there was some variation to it, and certain properties were, viewed as better than others. So a whole economy started emerging around CryptoKitties and the breeding of them. And this was beautiful and great. Everyone wanted a CryptoKitty. Everyone wanted to buy one, to sell one, to breed them. And this caused a lot of demand on Ethereum. So a lot of transactions started popping up. Now, what happened was that Ethereum, unfortunately, had very limited capacity to deal with all of these transactions. So there was a price spike because of the demand. Everyone wanted it. And then immediately after that, there was this huge crash in price and a huge crash in the usage of Ethereum. And a lot of people got burned by it and said, wait a second, this just isn't working. We thought this could, be a fun game for a very large population, but actually scale couldn't support the capacity of Ethereum at the time could not support this demand. And this kind of pattern actually happened time and again across many different chains. And let me make a prophecy. It is about to happen again on some of the infrastructures out there. So some of the places where all of the fun is taking place this very moment are going to experience in the coming months a CryptoKitties-like day of reckoning, where prices are going to spike, everyone's going to get disappointed, then prices are going to crash for those assets, and people will say, oh, this stuff doesn't work. So when you're choosing where to devote your time and effort, you better put it in a place or in the kind of blockchain technologies that are here to stay. And for that, we have to talk about what is a blockchain and what constitutes something that will be of long-term value and will be here for the long run. That is exactly the question of what is the vision and where is blockchain heading. Okay, so I remind those around here, if you have questions, please post them on the, use the questions button in order to post a question. I see that already Maison posted one question. I'll take all of the questions at the very end, okay, this time. So now, what are your options today? What can you choose from? Well, and this is related now to the product market fits that we see today. So what do we have out there today? Well, a lot of people are using Bitcoin, and they're probably using it as a very good form of digital gold. So what does this mean? Like gold, it is a store of value. It is something that let's say if I live in a developing country and I'm worried that my banking system might someday crash, or that I would need, the government might put its hand on my assets, and I would like something that is truly mine in a very true sense and cannot be taken even by a single nation state or by many nation states. Well, and it and I want something that will retain its value. So Bitcoin is exactly one such thing, and I can move with it from country to country. It's very easy to transfer it and to transition with it as opposed to physical gold. So that's what the product market fit for Bitcoin is today. However, you cannot use Bitcoin for other things that money is often used for, like medium of exchange. The capacity of Bitcoin is about 10 transactions per second. We'll get to the reason for that in a minute. So I can't use it for other forms of money. It is a store of value, but not a medium of exchange, which is very unfortunate, and we would like this thing to be fixed. What about Ethereum? Ethereum is, of course, the world computer. This is its slogan. And indeed, you can run on it any type of application that stores or transacts in value. And of course, ERC20s, a lot of games, a lot of NFTs are all built on Ethereum. However, it too is limited in its scale for pretty much the very same reasons that Bitcoin is limited in scale. So if you're not going to build your application, which is supposed to scale to service all of humanity, if you want to build something or join a team that will deliver global product market fit for blockchain, that blockchain cannot be Ethereum per se, because Ethereum is also bounded in the capacity of the computation and transactions it can support. Okay, so what are your other options? Well, you could go on rollups, which scale Ethereum. And there are actually two types of them. You have the optimistic rollups, which were deployed first. The two most famous ones are, of course, Optimism and Arbitrum. And there are many, many other chains that basically use the same technology. And actually, most of the activity on top of Ethereum these days takes place on these optimistic rollups. So it seems that we've solved our problem and we can deploy or experiment with things that may have global market fit, product market fit on top of Ethereum, on top of one of these optimistic rollups. However, and this is this prophecy of the CryptoKitties event that will soon come, for technological reasons that I won't go into now, but I encourage you to do your own research on the topic. For these technological reasons, there are inherent limitations to optimistic rollups. And they are going to hit a price and capacity limit pretty soon, at around when the cumulative number of transactions across all optimistic rollups is somewhere, I guess, between the 100 and 500 transactions per second. And bear in mind that, for instance, just payment networks like Visa process daily upwards of 2,000 transactions per second. And of course, in peak times, a lot more. So we're looking at a set of technologies that is probably limited at a few hundred TPS today. Okay, so that's probably not a good choice to work on those platforms today, because if you want to reach global product market fit, if that is your vision, and that is a vision shared by a lot of us, you are going inevitably to hit a CryptoKitties-like catastrophe event, and it's probably going to happen in the next few months, which is very unfortunate because you are spending so much of your time and efforts building something that is here to last, and it's about to hit a wall, and you're going to need to find somewhere else to go. By the way, the CryptoKitties team, indeed, because of the increase in demand and the high scale, they actually decided to create a whole new network called Fuel, but I don't think Fuel has reached product market fit either today. So that's probably not a good option to follow, at least based on past precedents. Okay, there are the validity rollups, which use zero knowledge proofs. I mean, they use not exactly zero knowledge proofs, but they use advanced cryptography in order to vastly scale blockchains. Starknet is the leading validity rollup. I would like to argue later on that validity rollups, and in particular Starknet, but any validity rollup falls under this category, they are the only viable option today that we are aware of that can deliver the vision and values of blockchains truly, and also scale to global capacity. Okay, so this is something I need to convince you of later on, but we will do this after we inspect what is the vision of blockchains. What are they about? Now, finally, there's also another very popular kind of platform, which Solana represents best today. And it's Web3 infra for all. So it runs at very high speed, much higher capacity and processing power than Ethereum. However, the way it works is that it basically demands the validators and operators in the network to go for much larger computers. So it makes sense that if you increase the size of the computers that you use for processing transactions, then you will be able to operate them at a higher rate and do more. However, I want to argue that these kinds of blockchains actually veer away from the vision and the real ethos of what a blockchain is all about. And this will be the topic so this is really the question now that we want to answer. What is a blockchain? What are they about? So before answering that, I would like to say, first of all, I'm going to use a slightly different term, but you can think of it as blockchain. I'm going to call them integrity webs. So why? Broadly speaking, well, we're all familiar with the World Wide Web. It is this infrastructure that we're all using every day, and it supports the transfer of information, data and information. Well, integrity webs are like the World Wide Web. They are a web, they are a protocol, they are a network like the web. They are built on top of the World Wide Web, but their essence is things like trust, value. And so it's another layer on top of the World Wide Web that deals not just with information and data, JPEGs and images and files and emails. It is a layer that deals with things of integrity and value, money, reputation, social status, things like that. That is the integrity web. And I prefer that term to blockchains because I think eventually we're going to reach one big integrity web as opposed to many different blockchains. That's where we'll ultimately head. So what are integrity webs? So they are yet another attempt to solve problems in something that has happened many times over history. And here's the history pseudocode, right? You often have some new economic domain is discovered. And then some of us are faster, smarter, luckier than others. We get there first and we understand what is it about. So we actually exploit that and profit from it and sort of monopolize it, this new domain. And I think that's fine. That's fine for humans to want to do this, right? Resourceful humans will do that. That's fine. But then at some point, society looks at this domain and says, wait a second. With all due respect to the capitalists and the entrepreneurs that made these first few strides and benefited humanity, we need a more level playing field. And then all kinds of rules and other ways of managing this economic domain are set in place. So examples of this are, for instance, if you look at agrarian societies, there used to be, the priests or the kings or the powerful sort of got everyone else to be their workers, right, initially. But then over time, societies emerged and said, wait a second, this doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Ownership should not be just by a few powerful people or by the king or by the priests. It should actually be, belonging more to the people. And all kinds of revolutions and changes in society were made. If you look at the Industrial Revolution, right, amazing progress happened, but along the way you had some entrepreneurs that made great profits, but these profits also sometimes exploited and put at risk, the general population. So then laws and rules were put in place to make things a bit more fair and better for human society. And now we're getting to integrity webs. Integrity webs are a phase or a tool in the reaction of society to what is happening today in the digital space. So what is happening today in the digital space? Well, when we act in the digital space over the internet, which is something that almost all of our lives today is carried out in this space, right? When we transact in it, we are led to believe that we own our actions, our assets, our life. But actually, that is not the case. Actually, there are a few big corporations and sometimes nation states, they own our assets. We custody with our assets with them. We custody our life, our emails, our social networks. They are all operated and owned by these big corporations. We ask them to act on our behalf, and they may or may not. We don't quite know. Sometimes we hope they do. But we don't have true ownership of our assets. We don't have true control of our stuff in the digital space. And that is exactly what integrity webs are set to disrupt and change. Basically, it's a rebalancing of power. Okay, that's what blockchains are about. Remember that it is not about the meme coins or the speculation or the rug pulls or will I buy an asset at a low price and sell it to some fool at a high price. That is a temporary phase. The real vision and rationale and reason for blockchains is much deeper. It is a rebalance in power. And let's not forget that, because if you're going to make your choice where to build your blockchain identity on, what to trust, where to align your interests, which platform to align your interests with, you better do it with one that is aligned with the true mission and true vision of what blockchain is. Okay, so what are these integrity webs? Well, I want to say that first of all, they offer a new way to solve a very old problem. What is the old problem? The old problem is the problem of how do we operate social functions, like money. A social function is something that has tremendous value, but all of its value is pegged on there being wide social consensus about the integrity of that mechanism. Let me say it again, because think about money, right? Money has immense value. All of its value is pegged on our assumption that you know, that I know, that she knows, that he knows, that basically it will retain its scarcity. Ownership will be, ownership will be maintained. A whole bunch of things that have to do with the integrity of money, the way it operates. We trust that these things will hold true in the future. And because we have this social consensus, everyone believes, everyone knows that money is operating as it should. Only because of that does it have value. Now, imagine this. If someone were, behind the scenes to, let's say, double the number of dollar bills every week and not tell us, what would happen is money, or the US dollar, would lose its value. And people would stop attaching value to it. Another example, maybe everything is fine with the dollar, but for some reason, there's a rumor circulating around that everyone starts saying that, something is broken with, let's say, the US dollar. Once again, it will lose value. So what is crucial for something like money is that there be wide social consensus about the integrity of this system. Now, there are many other social functions. Money is not the only one. It is perhaps the most important and the basic one of them. But things like land registries, property registries, social titles, right? I have a title of a PhD and a professor. It is something of scarcity that is managed by institutions that have their certification from the government. That's how scarcity and integrity are maintained. Okay? It is something of immense value to me to have this title, which is scarce, and I worked very hard to obtain. Okay? And it is a form of a social function, right? So we have social titles, we have land and property registries. We also have governance protocols, right? The way an election is run is itself a social function. It is something that carries immense value, right? The control of armies and economies is given to the person or the party that is the winner in these processes. And so there's immense value attached to it, but it is very important that the process itself has integrity and that the public believes that it has integrity, right? If you notice what has happened, right, in the last elections in the USA, right, people were starting to question, or certain people were starting to question the integrity of the process. And this, of course, is extremely dangerous. And, if these things, percolate and intensify, then you will have the whole world will have a very big problem. So to summarize, social functions are extremely important and they permeate all of our society. Okay, now, what are integrity webs? They are a new way to build infrastructure on which you could put social functions. In which ways are these integrity webs new? What is new about them? So there are three characteristics that I want to go over that are new about social functions. That are new about integrity webs. It is the way they are implemented that is very different from the way, let's say, money is implemented today. And these are broadness or openness, incentivized integrity, which is perhaps the most interesting and novel aspect of them, and public verifiability, which is exactly where things like ZK Starks, the technology that I co-invented and that StarkWare is proudly productizing and leading the vanguard on, that's where they come in. So let's go over these three properties and think about conventional money, and you'll see how different it is that these integrity webs deal with such problems. So what does broadness mean? Broadness means that the integrity web is basically this protocol that is open to everyone. You and I and everyone are invited to connect our computers to it and offer services and operate it, okay? Again, think about your nation's banking or monetary system. You're not invited to operate it, right? You need to have special credentials. You need to have a license from the state. Well, integrity webs say you are invited to come and operate the system. And in fact, the more people from around the world that participate in operating it, the better, the safer it becomes. So that is the first principle of broadness and openness. The second principle, which is perhaps the most ingenious aspect of Satoshi's brilliant invention, Bitcoin, is what I call incentivized integrity. What does it mean? It means that this protocol, this infrastructure, this sort of internet, right, this collection of protocols specifies ways in which value is constantly allocated automatically to the operators of the network. So you and I, we are not only invited to operate this network, we are going to be rewarded for it. And we're going to be given value, usually in the forms of transaction fees or portions of them, and minting rewards and staking rewards and stuff like that. Now, why are we given these rewards? It is not because the protocol loves us. There is a different reason. The reason is that we are getting these rewards in order to ensure integrity, that the right thing is being done, and public consensus for this integrity. The reason we trust Bitcoin to work as it should is because of the mining rewards and the rewards that go to miners. Because when looking at the system, we understand that it is in their best interest to maintain the integrity of the system and not screw me or not move the system to a new state where they take all of my funds. Why? Not because I trust them or I like them or they like me. It is because I understand or I sort of feel that the game theoretic incentives, the way that they are getting mining rewards and fees, is actually aligned with my integrity and the safety of my funds. This is the most ingenious aspect of integrity webs. And notice once again that you will not find this in your nation's financial system. This is not how it works. You are not given reward. First of all, you're not invited to operate it, and you're certainly not given any rewards for doing so. Okay, and then the very last part, which is extremely important, is that of public verifiability. Everyone should be able to inspect both the protocol, right? All of the code of the core protocol should be source available. And you and I, using commonly available means, which means, a laptop and the internet connection, should be able to verify the whole integrity of all of the systems so that I know that my funds are safe and have been treated with integrity. Once again, you will not find this in your financial system in your country. You are not invited to look at all of the transactions and certainly not all of the protocols that banks and credit card companies are running and make sure using your laptop that your funds are safe. No, you are asked to trust others in a system that is completely opaque. Summarizing, blockchains are a completely new way for achieving something that is as old as gold and money and stuff like that. It is a new way in which to implement and derive social functions, but it is a way that I hope I convinced you. So Starknet's vision is to be part of the integrity web that can scale to service all of global society. So microtransactions, payments, of course, credit cards, everything that you're doing, we believe, and we're building Starknet so that it will service it, but it will service it as a true integrity web, which means it will have broadness. Everyone will be invited to operate nodes in it. Those operating nodes will be rewarded for their services. In fact, staking is going live within a few weeks, and later by the middle of next year, we will have already parts of the decentralized nodes being operated, and part of your staking services will be to operate such nodes. And public verifiability is really the place where validity proofs, and especially ZK Starks, stand out. Because what are they about? This is not a talk about the math of Starks. I'll just say this briefly. What the math of Starks allows you to do is to use a very small amount of computation in order to check and put in bound the integrity of an exponentially larger system. So what the integrity of math allows you to do is invite arbitrarily large operators coming with even big computers. You need to have no trust assumptions about them because they will prove to you using math that they have operated with integrity. And we've already demonstrated that we can scale Ethereum by 1,000-fold and more using this technology. This is something that has been already working for 4 years, and we are only increasing its scale and capacity all the time. And in another talk, I will share how I believe we can actually reach a throughput level using this very technology that can support all the needs of the integrity web, even if it services all of humanity's need. Now, our vision is that ultimately integrity should never be assumed, but rather exhibited publicly. Let me repeat this again, because really this is the essence. This is our North Star. This is StarkWare's North Star. Integrity should never be assumed. It should be exhibited publicly. What do I mean by this? If you think about today's banking system, all of the national players there that you are using in your non-Web3 world, you must trust their integrity. You must assume their integrity. We believe that we have the technology and we have the way to move to a different place where integrity will never be assumed. No one will say to you, trust me. There is a guy with a suit. He has gray hair. Well, not like me, a lot of hair. I have gray, but not a lot of hair. So they won't say to you, here's a guy with a suit. I also don't have a suit right now. And gray hair. And you should trust him because he says that, whatever, the bank is sound or something like this. No, integrity should be exhibited publicly, meaning you, with your laptop, can basically check these proofs and know that everything that transpired has transpired with integrity. That, in a nutshell, is our vision and our North Star and where we are heading. So I would say more than that. Starknet and everything StarkWare is doing will rise or fall on its integrity and the other values it pursues. I don't think it will rise and fall on how fast we service whatever is the speculation of the day. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there, and even there may be a lot of profit to be had there. But I don't think, and I'm saying this as the CEO of StarkWare, a company that's probably the largest builder of infrastructure, blockchain infrastructure in the world today. We are not pursuing, the fun, speculative stuff. We believe that it will rise, that our success, Starknet's success, will rise or fall on its integrity, on its other values. It may be a strange thing to say for the CEO of a company that is for profit, but this is our North Star. And we are building Starknet as a long-lasting public good. And the reason we're doing it is that so that you and I, of course, and everyone will be able to truly own your life. So with this, I think this is pretty much the end of my presentation, but let me just summarize. So again, I'm talking to someone who's working in an enterprise already, has a comfortable tech position, but really loves blockchain, and then asks herself or himself, where is this all heading? And I think, well, I'm offering you our North Star. It is about true broadness or decentralization. It must be something that has incentivized integrity, which means that the reason you trust it is because you trust the way value is distributed to a broad set of operators. And it is something that has public verifiability, where you and I can use our laptops, not big, huge machines, in order to verify the full integrity of everything that has transpired on this integrity web. And with this, I will now answer questions. Okay, so Cesaro asking, what are the best counter arguments against shifting to integrity webs? Okay, let me see. Why not shift to integrity webs? Well, I think Paul Krugman, famous economist, Nobel laureate, and very big opponent of blockchains, summarizes it very nicely. He says there's the very old and battle-tested technology of reputation and repeated games, which basically says it's fine. Well, it's much more efficient to run a centralized server, like a bank. And the bank, in order to maintain its reputation, is incentivized to do the right thing, to operate with integrity. So things like reputation, not to mention, and the fact that it's a repeated game, meaning, the banker, if he screws you, then, well, he may go to jail, but also the bank will not, customers won't come to that bank, they will go elsewhere. So that is one counter argument against integrity webs. Well, it's a new technology, and there's a better technology, so Paul Krugman says, that is out there, which is the repeated games, the reputation-based technology. I think he's wrong. I think it's not a better. I think it's not a better way. Just in the same way that dictatorship is also much more efficient than democracy, right? There's one person in charge. You give all the power to this person. What could go wrong? Well, as Winston Churchill said, democracy is a very shitty system. You may have not used the word shitty, but the gist of it is, right, democracy is a very shitty system. Its only advantage is that it is better than all of the other systems that have been tried out there. So I think, integrity webs are better than that, but, that's the best counter argument. Okay, next question. Okay, here's a question that's mine. I'm going to delete it. Okay, how does StarkWare plan to collaborate with other L2 solutions and ecosystems? Well, that's a terrific question. So first of all, the integrity web, as the way I imagine it, or we imagine it, will ultimately, right, permeate and connect to everything. So, concretely, we are now trying to connect it, we're building very strongly to connect it to Bitcoin. So, right, it connects to Ethereum and to Bitcoin. We are supporting teams like Kakarot, which will allow ZK EVMs to run. So like, other versions of L2s of Ethereum can run on top of Starknet. I think that down the line, any layer one or a system that carries value, we would like, ultimately, it's just a lot of work, right, to connect it to Starknet. So we would love to connect it tomorrow to everything. It's just that, we can only, even though we have a very large team, we still can only do like one thing at a time. House of ZK. What advice do you have for marketers in the ZK space? Wow, that's a really good question. First of all, I'll say I'm not a marketer. Um, what can I say? I would say that it's a really fascinating challenge because as a marketer, you're probably very much drawn to the technology aspect, right? The math, or all kinds of things about the coolness of right the zero knowledge aspect, the privacy. But probably for mass marketing, you want other things. Now, what are those other things? How do you resonate, right? It's about feelings and colors and emotions. What are the right things to connect ZK with? Honestly, I'm not sure. Well, okay, I believe it's about integrity, really. So, but I'm not sure integrity is an easy thing to market. But I think it's about reliability, integrity, true ownership, and maybe connecting it. The integrity of ZK is the integrity of math. It's about like truth. There's no truth like the truth of math, and maybe that's an angle I would go towards, but I'm not sure. Is Starknet completely dependent on the opcat implementation in order to become an L2? The short answer is hell no. Meaning, we will announce in the very near future all kinds of things that will already bring hopefully some Bitcoin assets and Bitcoin denominated activity onto Starknet. I will say this: opcat will be at least this, of the things that are in the near future possible on Bitcoin, it will be the safest, truest to Bitcoin's ethos, and cheapest way to get, well, not cheap, well, okay, will be the safest and truest to Bitcoin ethos way in order to connect Bitcoin to Starknet. But we will have other kinds of bridges and things that are, we'll try to make them as secure as possible without opcat being turned on. But yeah, we're not dependent only on opcat for that. We just think that there's enough demand for the integrity of Bitcoin, finding an L2 that is known for its integrity and values, and that is Starknet. Okay. Sorry, start answering, done answering. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait, I forgot that. There was a question that I think I answered, but now it disappeared. So, let me go back to it. How does StarkWare? No, where is it? Oh, when Starknet, Pedro is asking, when Starknet will be able to become a stage 1 L2 on L2 beat? That will be a topic for a different question, because I'm not sure, with all due, I have a lot of respect for Vitalik, but I'm not sure that the only way to talk about the security and the stages of L2s is to go through his characterization. So I don't know about that. I can tell you that we are doing everything in order to move in the fastest and safest way towards something that is the integrity web. What trajectory should one take if working for StarkWare is the ultimate goal? I would reach out. Like, we have a bunch of job descriptions, and I would reach out to look at them. I wouldn't. Well, it really depends. What is your background? Are you an engineer? Are you in marketing? Are you in this and that? But I would reach out and talk to people from StarkWare. We're very open to discussions. There are a lot of us out there. By the way, those of you asking what can we do in order to learn more, so there's a button down there, join Starknet Discord. We have a lot of people eager to talk to you and tell you a lot of things. So in particular, this as well. So House of ZK. Okay, has Multiverse X ever contacted StarkWare for advice? I don't know. I have to look at it. I don't remember. Like, I don't want to answer. I don't want to answer without preparing this. Okay, so let me get back to you on this. Does WEF love or hate Starknet? Well, if I knew what WEF was, I would be able to answer. What is WEF? I don't know, but I would say it loves Starknet. I mean, who doesn't love Starknet? I don't know what WEF is. Sorry. If you want, you can comment on this. I'll leave this. What are the short-term and long-term plans to increase user demand for Starknet? Oh, okay. Martian, I love this question. I will say the first thing. What I'm doing all day these days is thinking about the short-term plans of increasing user demand for Starknet. And let me tell you what is my best hope right now. Turns out that there's a large number of very interesting dApps that you will find only on Starknet. Many of them are in the gaming world, but some of them are very interesting in DeFi and other areas. So what I'm trying to do right now is go around, ask all of those teams, what do you need in order to increase demand? What do you need in order to bring down, barriers, get things working better? That's what I'm doing almost all the time, and a lot of my team. Along the way, we're also sort of shifting a little bit of our focus, and like internal, like engineers and product managers and researchers are thinking a lot more about helping and building end user facing applications and all kinds of tools and stuff for them to use. So one example is, we're revamping the Starkgate, which is the bridge that we've built. We're working on, staking. Staking is going live in a few weeks, so like staking front and back end, stuff like that. And then thinking about a number of other interesting things in the DeFi space that we can put out there as open source things for others to build on and use. Okay. Oh, there are 3 comments on. So let's see. World Economic Forum. Does the World Economic Forum love or hate Starknet? My first guess would be that it probably doesn't know Starknet and doesn't care for it. I'm guessing, but I have met some people from the WEF, and they love the technology. I guess that's my best answer. Okay. But if you guys are connected to the WEF, I'd love to talk to them again. I have spoken to them, presented to them in the past. I think they enjoyed it. Okay. Starknet will be able to compete in which TPS and fee cost range in the future? Wow, that's a terrific question. So last week we just measured upwards of 500 TPS, a little bit for a short time. I think that in our own testing for sustained periods on the existing version, which is now on mainnet, we sustainably went over 250 TPS and sometimes 400 TPS. By the next version, which is coming out, I believe, early in 2025, maybe even by the end of the year, I forgot, we will hopefully double to quadruple the amount of TPS, so maybe in the range of like 1,000. This is with a lot of help from teams like Lambda Class and Nethermind, basically having this native Cairo VM. So we'll probably hover around, let's say, 1 to 2,000 TPS for ERC20 transfers. But as you know, we're bringing Stu very quickly into production, middle of next year. And that should be roughly 100x in terms of proving capacity. So there will be bottlenecks. I mean, we won't be 100,000 TPS by the end of 2025. But yeah, I'm saying, there's definitely a lot that we can improve on the TPS. Okay. And about cost range, I think I hope will be the lowest all the time because of the amortization of validity proofs. And also, if need be, we will add volition if data availability costs and blob costs are going up. So I hope we'll be continue to be, as we are right now, the cheapest. Okay. I think that if Starknet is able to be a hybrid Ethereum and Bitcoin L2, it will be able to support a hyper DeFi ecosystem. What do you think about this? I support that. I'm not exactly sure what is a hyper DeFi, but if you mean like DeFi that is multi-collateral and multi-asset, and you get Bitcoin and Ethereum, other things, yes, that's our vision. That's our plan. I'm just speeding up because I see we have another 16 open questions. So maybe I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer all of them. What properties does Starknet leverage from L1s? Can Starknet... Okay, wait. What advice you would give to new folks exploring Starknet? Oh, ask a lot, be proactive, join the Starknet Discord. There's a huge, eager, beautiful ecosystem out there that wants to meet you and talk to you. Please talk to them. What properties does Starknet leverage from L1s? Can Starknet work without the need of L1s? Theoretically, it could. Yes, it could become its own L1 someday down the path. It isn't, right now on the table or anytime soon. Right now, it uses the security of Ethereum to get finality and ultimate security. And very soon, it's going to use the combined security of both Bitcoin and Ethereum to be probably the safest blockchain infrastructure out there. Okay, given your firm belief in the high purpose of crypto and Starknet especially, how does this fit in with Starknet's current focus on the development of the gaming industry? Because right now Starknet, because right now Starknet is typically known for its play as a place for gamers. Okay, first of all, I think gaming is a very valid and very interesting use case. And a long time ago, even before Starknet existed, I said that I believe that one of the very first possible product market fits of blockchain will be with gaming. And why? Because gamers are already very much ingrained in a digital life and assign a lot of value to the assets there. So I think this could be a very great segue into blockchain. Now, I want to emphasize something. It is not Starknet that has chosen gaming. It is gaming and fully on-chain gaming developers who have chosen Starknet. And why? Because they understand it is the only place where you can have a true integrity web that also offers you the amount of scale that you need in order to develop novel things. So it's the other way around, right? They chose us. And here's an interesting challenge for all of you. What would you do in DeFi and finance if you were given an immense amount of computation? Answer that. That is the $1 trillion question for Starknet, because you will make that $1 trillion, right? Okay. Why is Bitcoin a better store of value than STRK? It's a little bit like, why is gold a better store of value than silver? It's all about consensus and probably first mover, right? Gold, for historical reasons, was it. And then silver, which is in many ways similar to it. Well, it rusts a little bit more, never mind. But I think it's a similar, like, why is Bitcoin a better store of value than any other coin out there? I think because of the first mover and the novelty and the security and so on. But I'm very happy with that. Like, I don't want to fight Bitcoin as a store of value. Dear professor, what guidance would you offer to a recent PhD graduate in cryptography looking to transition into an industry role related to blockchain? Which areas in this field offer the most potential for research? Okay, well, I would identify at least three. One is, of course, the area of cryptography, and in particular, I think things like ZK. The second, I would say, is the whole area of distributed computation, right? Consensus protocols, very, very interesting. And the third one is that of game theory, things like MEV and macro tokenomics, micro tokenomics. Those are the three interesting areas. The nice thing is that today, when I went into blockchain, which was 11 years ago, no academic was crazy enough to do so, or very few. But now there are actually full conferences dedicated to it, so you're in a very good position. And the nice thing is that in any one of these research areas, you will be grabbed by industry. Okay, what qualified metrics do you use to measure, are we getting close to our North Star and how fast are we approaching? Victor, okay, my dear friend Victor, that is a terrific question, but I would expect no less of you. Okay, so there's incentivized integrity, there's public verifiability, and there's broadness. I think the trickiest is broadness, right? Because broadness ultimately is, we want a set of operators of Starknet to be truly broad, meaning that people, in developing countries and underrepresented minorities, they all have a say there. That's probably the trickiest. The public verifiability is about like open sourcing, making sure that everything is, never doing what some of our competitors are doing, is turning on systems that don't actually have the security and proofs working, something we will never do. So I think the public verifiability and even the incentivized integrity are sort of a bit easy to to gauge. I would say that, of course, things like steps towards decentralization. As you know, right now, Starknet is being operated by a single operator, which isn't good. So, follow the roadmap and do hold us accountable. There is a retail integration problem to Starknet at this time that is not being integrated by a SEX like Kraken, Binance, or Coinbase. What are your current efforts regarding this issue? Yeah, this is a very painful point. I would say it always happens with new technology, especially one where currently, as you all know, there isn't that much usage right now. So it's uphill battle, right? Convincing the teams of the world to support it. I will say this, I'm very optimistic and it will be integrated. This is a little bit resemblant of what all of blockchain is experiencing, right? Bitcoin is not very well integrated into the conventional world. It's an uphill battle. So I will say this, we and the Starknet Foundation is putting a lot of efforts there. And I think that over the next 6 months, there'll be a lot of integrations being announced. I know, I just don't want to spill the beans. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to answer just 3 more questions. So please upvote, because it's getting late here. Please upvote the things that you want. I love the amount of questions. It's really great. Upvote the questions that you want, and I'm just going to answer the 3 ones that appear at the top. Okay, so I'm going to answer this one. There are 2 more, so just vote the ones you want answered. Okay, so currently the generated proofs are sent to smart contracts on Ethereum to verify their validity. So when Starknet becomes L2 of Ethereum and Bitcoin simultaneously, will the proof be sent to Ethereum or Bitcoin for verification? This is a terrific question. I will say that I am not deep enough in the research on this, but let me say that there are several options here. One is having an order on, who do you trust more, right? So if there's ever a conflict between Bitcoin and Ethereum, you go with one of them. In that case, I would probably go with Bitcoin, not Ethereum. A trickier thing, which we'll devote maybe some other talk to, is trying to get something that will ensure that you are always in sync of each one of them. And I think I'll just give a hint to that. I think the core to that is to be able to simulate each one of those chains on Starknet, right? So that you can only simulate what is current, real one there. But this will be a topic of a different talk. Okay, so 2 more questions. And okay. How do you think about the tension between existing institutions and new age digital institutions like Ethereum and Starknet? Well, okay. In the short term, I think things will be fine. I deeply worry that by the time all is said and done, and integrity webs actually are the preferred method to run the global society, I deeply fear that blood may spill. And the reason I fear it is because whenever something challenges a very, very powerful existing order, then unfortunately it may end in blood. I hope that's not the case. There's some hope. Like if you look at the history of the British Empire, it went through 1,000 years of transition of power from pure monarchy to pure democracy without almost any blood being spilled. So I hope the TradFi will segue into Web3 in a similar way, but more often it can get unpleasant. And the very last question, what dApps or initiatives have best captured your attention recently? And what is your fondest memory from your StarkWare journey so far? What dApps or initiatives have best captured your attention recently? I'm always looking for things. You know what? Here's what I'm looking for. I'm always looking for things that I can imagine my parents, my siblings, my kids, my friends using day to day. So payment networks, ticketing, own your reputation, anything that I see today and believe that can be done in a better way, on an integrity web and I see someone doing that, I like that. Now, what is my fondest memory from StarkWare journey so far? Wow. I just have so many of them. Look, I've been here 7 years, and every day I came to work was like pure pleasure. And there's just one simple reason. I just admire my teammates. So many of them are so much smarter than me. And I think also nicer, better human beings. I truly believe this. And so I'm honored and blessed to work with a team of people that I highly respect. And the things I love most is, I guess, when I am, shown to be wrong. And like, I think that's great. I would say this. I remember saying this to, so some of you may know Lior Goldberg. He's like one of the co-creators of Cairo and many other things. And I said to him, look, there will come a day when people will talk about Cairo and you will have no fucking clue what they're saying. Because I said it to him back in the day where he was the only one who knew everything about Cairo. And recently I asked him, I think he said, yeah, I think I'm already in that situation. And I feel exactly the same way about ZK Starks. I have hardly any idea what's going on with it. And so it's like this child that you helped give birth to, but now it's so much bigger. That and just working with this amazing team is the best part. So summarizing, I hope you enjoyed this. If you're looking what to do next, well, click the button there, join the Discord, the Starknet Discord, ask around. As they say, the more you fuck around, the more you will find out, and in a good way on Starknet. So thank you very much. Hope to see you all soon. Take care.